Hey there, Nas here, back for our book club. What if I told you that Sherlock Holmes once faced one of the most dangerous men in London? A man so ruthless, a man so cunning that even Holmes himself had to admit this case was like no other. So today we're diving into Arthur Conan Doyle's gripping mystery. You guessed it, the adventure of the illustrious client. So get ready for deception, for danger, and a deadly game of words. But first, quick question for you. Would you trust Sherlock Holmes with your life? Yes, because he's the best detective in history. No, he takes too many risks. Okay, enough talking. Let's step into this mystery. But did you know that there's a free downloadable PDF with some of Sherlock Holmes' most iconic scenes? And if you want it, all you have to do is check out the link in the description. So if you're ready, it's time for Sherlock Holmes. It can't hurt now, was Mr. Sherlock Holmes' comment when, for the 10th time in as many years, I asked his leave, I asked his permission to reveal the following narrative. So it was that at last I obtained permission to put on record what was in some ways the supreme moment of my friend's career. So for the 10th time in 10 years, I asked his permission to reveal this story, and I do believe that this was the best moment, the highest moment, the supreme moment of my friend's career. Both Holmes and I had a weakness for the Turkish bath. It was ever a smoke in the pleasant lassitude of the drawing room that I found him less reticent and more human than anywhere else. So we both loved the Turkish bath, the Turkish hammam. And it was here in the drawing room that I found him more relaxed, more human. On the upper floor of Northumberland Avenue establishment, there is an isolated corner where two couches lie side by side, and it was on these that we lay upon September the 3rd, 1902, the day when my story begins. I had asked him whether anything was stirring, and for answer, he had shut his long, thin, nervous arm out of the sheets which enveloped him and had drawn an envelope from the inside pocket of the coat which hung beside him. It must be some fussy, self-important fool. It may be a matter of life or death, said he, as he handed me the note. I know no more than this message tells me. All I know is what is in this message. It was from the Carlton Club and dated the evening before. This is what I read. Sir James Damery presents his compliments to Mr. Sherlock Holmes and will call upon him at 4:30 tomorrow. Sir James begs to say that the matter upon which he desires to consult Mr. Holmes is very delicate and also very important. He trusts, therefore, that Mr. Holmes will make every effort to grant this interview, to give this interview, to see him, and that he will confirm it over the telephone to the Carlton Club. I need not say that I have confirmed it, Watson, said Holmes, as I returned the paper. Do you know anything of this man, Demery? Only that his name is a household word in society. He's famous, he's popular, he's well-known, he's a high society figure. Well, I can tell you a little more than that. He has rather a reputation for arranging delicate matters which are kept out of the papers. So he's someone who works behind the scenes. Interesting. You may remember his negotiations with Sir George Lewis over the Hammerford wool case. He's a man of the world with a natural turn for diplomacy. He's a diplomat. He's very diplomatic. with a natural turn, a natural talent. I am bound, therefore, to hope that this is not a false scent, and that he has some real need for our assurance. So because he has this talent for diplomacy, I hope that this is not a wild goose chase, a false scent, and that he really needs our assistance. Our, well, if you will be so good, Watson, well, if you will indulge me, if you will join me, I shall be honored. Then you have the hour, you know the time, 4:30. Until then, we can put the matter out of our heads. We can ignore this matter. I was living in my own rooms in Queen Anne Street at the time, but I was round at Baker Street before the time named, before the time stated. Sharp to the half hour, exactly. Colonel Sir James Demery was announced. He was right on time. It is hardly necessary to describe him, for many will remember that large, bluff, honest personality, that broad, clean-shaven face, and above all, that pleasant, mellow voice. Frankness, directness shone from his grey Irish eyes, and good humour played around his mobile, smiling lips. His loosened top hat, his dark frock coat, indeed every detail, from the pearl pin in the black satin cravat to the lavender spats over the varnished shoes, spoke of the meticulous care in dress for which he was famous. Very well-dressed gentleman. The big, masterful aristocrat dominated the little room. So he's an aristocrat, he's titled, he has a title. Of course, I was prepared to find Dr. Watson, he remarked, with a courteous bow, sorry, with a bow. Bow is the one in the hair. His collaboration may be very necessary, for we are dealing on this occasion, Mr. Holmes, with a man to whom violence is familiar and who will literally stick at nothing. So we're talking about a man who is very violent and who will stop at nothing. I should say that there is no more dangerous man in Europe. There isn't anyone more dangerous in Europe than this man. I have had several opponents to whom that flattering term has been applied, said Holmes with a smile. And here he's being sarcastic, right? It's not a flattering term, the most dangerous man in Europe. Don't you smoke? Then you will excuse me if I light my pipe. If your man is more dangerous than the late Professor Moriarty, or than the living Colonel Sebastian Moran, then he is indeed worth meeting. May I ask his name? Have you ever heard of Baron Gruner? You mean the Austrian murderer? Colonel Damery threw up his kid-gloved hands with a laugh, so he was wearing these really soft kid gloves. There's no getting past you, Mr. Holmes. Wonderful. So you have already sized him up as a murderer. It is my business to follow the details of continental crime. Who could possibly have read what happened at Prague and have any doubts to the man's guilt? It was a purely technical legal point and the suspicious death of a witness that saved him. So he got away with this crime on a technicality and oops, suddenly a witness died and it's very suspicious. We have questions and doubts about what happened. I am as sure that he killed his wife when the so-called accident happened in the Splugen Pass as if I had seen him do it. There's no doubt in my mind. I knew also that he had come to England and had a presentiment that sooner or later he would find me some work to do. Well, what has Baron Gruner been up to? I presume it is not this old tragedy which has come up again. No, it is more serious than that. To revenge crime is important, but to prevent it is more so. They do say that prevention is better than cure, so prevention of a crime is more important than revenging a crime, getting revenge. It is a terrible thing, Mr. Holmes, to see a dreadful event, an atrocious situation, a horrible situation, preparing itself before your eyes, to clearly understand whither it will lead, where it will lead, and yet to be utterly unable to avert it. Can a human being be placed in a more trying position? Trying position, a challenging position. So it's horrible. It's a horrible situation. It's an awful situation to see a dreadful event being planned right before your eyes, right in front of you, to understand that it's going to lead to something awful, but you are unable to avert it, to change it, to prevent it. Perhaps not. Then you will sympathize with the client in whose interests I am acting. I did not understand that you were merely an intermediary. Who is the principal? So Sherlock Holmes had no idea that this guy was just acting on someone else's behalf. Mr. Holmes, I must beg you not to press that question. It is important that I should be able to assure him that his honored name has been in no way dragged into the matter. His motives are, to the last degree, honorable and chivalrous, but he prefers to remain unknown. His motives are absolutely pure good intentions. I need not say that your fees will be assured and that you will be given a perfectly free hand. You will be paid whatever you ask. Surely the actual name of your client is immaterial? I mean, what difference does it make? Why is it important? Immaterial, not important. I am sorry, said Holmes. I am accustomed to have mystery at one end of my cases, but to have it at both ends is too confusing. I fear, say, Sir James, that I must decline to act. I must say no. Our visitor is greatly disturbed. He's not happy. His large, sensitive face was darkened with emotion and disappointment. You hardly realize the effect of your own action, Mr. Holmes, said he. You place me in a most serious dilemma, for I am perfectly certain that you would be proud to take over the case if I could give you the facts, and yet a promise forbids me from revealing them all. May I at least lay all that I can before you? So, Mr. Holmes, you have no idea what you are doing. You are putting me in a very awkward position. This is a real predicament for me. And you know what? If you knew the full facts, which I cannot give you because I made a promise, but you would be so proud to take over this case if you knew everything. So now, may I at least lay all that I can before you? Can I just tell you what I can? Okay, I can't tell you everything. So he's still sticking to that. By all means, so long as it is understood that I commit myself to nothing. Yeah, sure, go ahead, but it doesn't mean that I'm saying yes. That is understood. In the first place, you have no doubt heard of General de Merville. De Merville of Khyber fame, yes, I have heard of him. He has a daughter, Violet de Merville, young, rich, beautiful, accomplished, a wonder woman in every way. It was this daughter, this lovely, innocent girl, whom we are endeavoring to save, trying to save from the clutches of a fiend. So a fiend is not a good person. Evil, evil, and the clutches. So check out my body language and you can see what I mean. The clutches like an animal. Baron Gruner has some hold over her then? The strongest of all holds where a woman is concerned, the hold of love. So if you have a hold someone over someone, you have some kind of control over the person. The fellow is, as you may have heard, extraordinarily handsome, with a most fascinating manner, a gentle voice, and that air of romance and mystery which means so much to a woman. He is said to have the whole sex at his mercy. So the whole sex, the whole female sex, all women at his mercy. I mean, they will do whatever he wants. And to have made ample use of that fact, of the fact. So he's taken full advantage of the fact that women just fall at his feet. But how came such a man to meet a lady of the standing of Miss Violet de Marville? So her standing, her social status. So how did such a man meet a woman who is from basically high society, right? It was on a Mediterranean yachting voyage. The company, though select, paid their own passengers. No doubt the promoters hardly realized the Baron's true character until it was too late. So they met on a cruise and everyone paid their own fare, and the promoters didn't realize who the Baron was. The villain. Oh, Sherlock Holmes, there's always a villain. Attached himself to the lady, and with such effect that he has completely and absolutely won her heart. To say that she loves him hardly expresses it. She dotes upon him. She's obsessed by him. So if you dote upon someone, it's like you do everything for them. Outside of him, there is nothing on earth. She will not hear one word against him. Everything has been done to cure her of her madness, but in vain. In vain, it hasn't worked with no success. Failure, basically. To sum up, to summarize, in conclusion, oh, she proposes to marry him next month. As she is of age and has a wool of iron, it is hard to know how to prevent her. So if someone is of age, it means that they have reached the legal age of consent. It's 18 or 21, depending on the country that you are in. And she has a wool of iron, so she is quite stubborn, can we say? She's quite stubborn. She has a wool of iron. And we don't know how to stop her, how to prevent her. Does she know about the Austrian episode? Oh, the cunning devil. I think they're talking about the villain here, the Baron, has told her every unsavory public scandal of his past life. He's told her everything, but always in such a way as to make himself out to be an innocent martyr. Poor innocent little victim. So he has twisted the facts and told her his version of the reality. She absolutely accepts his version and will listen to no one. Dear me, but surely you have inadvertently left out the name of your client. It is no doubt General de Marville. Yeah, you just told us the daughter's name. Our visitor fidgeted in his chair. So if you fidget, you're not sitting still and calmly. You're like crossing your legs, uncrossing your legs, moving your hands around. Agitated, okay, nervous, anxious. I could deceive you by saying so, Mr. Holmes, but it would not be true. De Merville is a broken man. The strong soldier has been utterly demoralized by this incident. He has lost the nerve which never failed him on the battlefield, and he's become a weak, doddering old man, utterly incapable of contending with a brilliant, forceful rascal like this Austrian. So the father is just a broken man. He doesn't have the energy or the energy and the strength that he once had as the strong soldier. It's all gone, and he no longer has that energy or the strength to deal with this evil villain, vile, forceful rascal. A rascal is a bad person. And by the way, just to remind you that there is a free downloadable PDF link in the description, which has lots of vocabulary from the Sherlock Holmes stories. He does use lots of words repeatedly, and so this would be a good glossary for you to have. And let's just remember that this Austrian, he's a rascal, but he's also brilliant, and those are the ones who are most dangerous, right? My client, however, is an old friend, one who has known the general intimately for many years. So they're good friends, they've known each other well for many years, and taken a paternal interest in this young girl since she wore short frocks. So basically, since she was a child. He cannot see this tragedy consummated, reaching its fulfillment, okay, being realized without some attempt to stop it. No, he can't allow this. He has to try to act. There is nothing in which Scotland Yard can act. The police cannot do anything. It was his own suggestion that you should be called in, but it was, as I have said, on the express stipulation that he should not be personally involved in the matter. Here's one caveat, here's one restriction, here's one order. This was non-negotiable, was that he should not be personally involved. So his express stipulation, something that he stated, is very firm about it. I have no doubt, Mr. Holmes, with your great powers, you could easily trace my client back through me, but I must ask you, as a point of honor, to refrain from doing so. Don't do it. And not to break in upon his incognito. So, Mr. Holmes, I know you're perfectly capable of investigating this, finding out who the client is, but I'm asking you, as a point of honor, to not do it. Refrain from doing so. If I ask you to refrain from doing something, I'm asking you to not do it. And break in upon his incognito. Now, you might know the word incognito. If you use Google search in English, we have the incognito function, and that means secrecy, privacy. Yeah? Look how that kind of linked together. There seems to be a link between the past and the present. Holmes gave a whimsical smile. I think I may safely promise that, said he. I may add that your problem interests me and that I shall be prepared to look into it. How shall I keep in touch with you? The Carlton Club will find me, but in case of emergency, there is a private telephone call XX.31. Holmes noted it down and sat, still smiling, with the open memorandum book upon his knee. So he's got the book on his knee. The Baron's present address, please. Vernon Lodge, near Kingston. It is a large house. He has been fortunate in some rather shady speculations, and is a dangerous man, which naturally makes him a most dangerous antagonist. So the Baron, the villain, the vile rascal. Well, where does he live? Vernon Lodge, and it's a large house, and he's made a lot of money. Shady speculations. These are not honest deals, okay? And he's a rich man. And you know what? That makes him a very dangerous antagonist and opponent. Is he at home at present? Yes. At present, right now, Apart from what you have told me, can you give me any further information about the man? He has expensive tastes. Okay, he likes luxury. He is a horse fancier. He loves horses. For a short time, he played polo at Hurlingham, but then this Prague affair got noised about and he had to leave. Got noised about, people were talking about it, gossiping about it. He collects books and pictures. He is a man with a considerable artistic side to his nature. He is, I believe, a recognized authority upon Chinese pottery and has written a book upon the subject. A complex mind, said Holmes. All great criminals have that, and I absolutely agree with that assessment. Yes, great criminals do have complex minds. They're usually super intelligent, hyper intelligent, genius even. So, this Baron has expensive tastes. He loves horses. He once played polo at Hurlingham, but then kind of got kicked out when people started talking about the Prague affair, the murder. And also, he collects books, he collects pictures. He's interested in the arts. He's quite cultured, it would seem. And he is an authority on Chinese pottery. He's even an author. He's written a book about the subject. A complex mind, said Holmes. All great criminals have that. My old friend Charlie Peace was a violin virtuoso. Wainwright was no mean artist. I could quote many more. Well, Sir James, you will inform your client, and I am turning my mind upon Baron Gruner. I can say no more. I have some sources of information of my own, and I dare say we may find some means of opening the matter. When our visitor had left us, Holmes sat so long, deep in thought, that it seemed to me that he had forgotten my presence. He'd forgotten I was there. At last, however, he came briskly back to earth. Well, Watson, any views? He asked. I should think you had better see the young lady yourself. Oh, sorry, herself. I should think you had better see the young lady herself. You should go and visit this woman. My dear Watson, if her poor old broken father cannot move her, how shall I, a stranger, prevail? If her father could not change her mind, how do you expect me, a stranger, to change her mind? So move someone, make someone change, have an effect, influence on the person. So um, it's like if you can move someone, it's not physically move the person, it's have some kind of effect on the person. Influence, that's the word I'm looking for. Influence. And yet there is something in the suggestion if all else fails. But it's not a completely, ridiculous suggestion. But I think we must begin from a different angle. I rather fancy that Shinwell Johnson might be a help. I have not had occasion to mention Shinwell Johnson in these memoirs because I have seldom drawn my cases from the latter phases of my friend's career. During the first years of the century, he became a valuable assistant. Johnson, I grieve to say, made his name first as a very dangerous villain and served 2 terms at Parkhurst. So he made his name, he became famous. So I think Elon Musk made his name with PayPal. Jeff Bezos made his name with Amazon. So that's where they found fame, right? So this guy actually made his name as a dangerous villain, strange, as a criminal. That's how he became famous. And he served 2 terms at Parkhurst. Now, when you serve something, you serve a jail sentence. And if you serve 2 terms, I'm not sure what 1 term is, but it means you served 2 times at Parkhurst, which is clearly the prison. So this villain had gone to prison twice. Finally, he repented and allied himself to Holmes. Oh, so then suddenly this guy changed and he repented. So when you repent, you may have heard this when it comes to sins. So you commit a sin and then you repent, you say you're sorry. And so he repented and then he allied himself, um, kind of hooked himself to Holmes, kind of became connected to Holmes. An ally, think about it in terms of war, the allies are your friends, right? The people you are working with. So he allied himself to Holmes. He became friendly with Holmes, acting as his agent in the huge criminal underworld of London and obtaining information which often proved to be of vital importance. So Johnson basically became his spy, his snitch, went undercover and told him what was going on in the underworld, and the underworld is the crime scene. So there it is, a knock. Had Johnson been a knock of the police, he would soon have been exposed. But as he dealt with cases which never came directly into the courts, his activities were never realized by his companions. So his companions, the other criminals, never realized that he was the snitch. He was the one giving out information. Why? Because no one ever found out about it. These cases never went to court. So no one heard about the details. With the glamour of his two convictions upon him, oh gosh, so sarcastic, the glamour of having been in jail twice, he had the entree of every nightclub, doss house, and gambling den in the town. Okay, so he was respected in the criminal underworld, and his quick observation and active brain made him an ideal agent for gaining information. It was to him that Sherlock Holmes now proposed to turn. So, this is the guy that Sherlock Holmes is saying, hey, this guy could help us. And when we say he now proposed to turn, when you turn to someone, you go to them asking for help, asking for assistance. You turn to someone for guidance, for help, for assistance. It was not possible for me to follow the immediate steps taken by my friend, for I had some pressing professional business of my own, but I met him by appointment that evening at Simpson's, where, sitting at a small table in the front window and looking down at the rushing stream of life in the Strand, he told me something of what had passed. So I wasn't able to join him for this appointment, but I met him later and then we discussed it, and he told me something of what had passed. He gave me some information about what had happened. Johnson is on the prowl, said he. He may pick up some garbage in the darker recesses of the underworld, for it is down there, amid the black roots of crime, that we must hunt for this man's secrets. How beautifully written. He'll pick up some garbage, some rotten stuff in the darker recesses, the darker corners of the underworld, the crime world, because it is down there amid the black roots of crime. So a tree is on the surface, but down we go into the roots, into the ground, into the darkness, into the filth, that we must hunt for this man's secrets. But if the lady will not accept what is already known, why should any fresh discovery of yours turn her from her purpose? I mean, she knows all this stuff. She's not interested. Why would any discovery from you change her mind, turn her from her purpose, change her decision, basically? Who knows, Watson? Woman's heart and mind are insoluble puzzles to the male. Okay, men cannot really understand women. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. Yeah, that was the book. Murder might be condoned or explained. So murder might be condoned. If you condone something, you say, hey, it's okay. You can even explain the murder. And yet, some smaller offense might rankle. I like this idea because sometimes we overlook the big things like murder. We condone bad behavior. We might even condone things that are immoral, right? And we can even explain it away. We can try to give excuses for it. But then there's something small, something little that might rankle, might irritate, might offend. I love the word rankle. Baron Gruner remarked to me, he remarked to you? Oh, to be sure, I had not told you of my plans. Well, Watson, I love to come to grips with my man. I like to meet him eye to eye and read for myself the stuff he is made of. When I had given Johnson his instructions, I took a cab out to Kingston and found the Baron in a most affable mood. Good mood? Yeah. Did he recognize you? So he went and he saw Johnson, this guy in the underworld, this criminal who had served 2 terms in prison. And then he went off to see the Baron, the villain, the rascal, the vile man. Okay. There was no difficulty about that, for I simply sent in my card. Of course he recognized me. It was easy. I sent my card. He is an excellent antagonist, cool as ice, silky voiced, and soothing as one of your fashionable consultants, and poisonous as a cobra. He has breeding in him, a real aristocrat of crime, with a superficial suggestion of afternoon tea and all the cruelty of the grave behind it. But I am glad to have had my attention called to Baron Adalbert Brunner. So let's talk about this Baron for a moment. He's an excellent antagonist, an excellent adversary. He's as cool as ice. He's calm. He's collected. He has a silky voice, and he's so soothing. But he's poison. He's well bred. He's a real aristocrat of crime. He is such a professional. And he makes the superficial suggestion of afternoon tea. And on the surface, he comes across as, this is a lovely word, as very urbane, very polished. I mean, he could have tea with the Queen. He would fit in, but that's on the surface. The cruelty of the grave behind it. He's a murderer. He's just murderous. But I'm happy. I'm glad that I went there. I really am. You say he was affable? You say he was nice, he was kind, he was polite, he was welcoming? A purring cat who thinks he sees prospective mice on the hunt. Cats hunt mice. Some people's affability is more deadly than the violence of coarser souls. I absolutely agree. Some people are just so polite and seemingly nice and kind on the surface, but underneath that veneer, that exterior, that fakeness, we see such ugliness. And you know what? When people pretend, that's more deadly. When they pretend to be nice, because that's how they lure you in, because you are unsuspecting, right? And it's worse than the violence of coarser souls, because when you see a criminal, you see a violent person, you have your guard up, you become protective, you aware, right? You know the person is bad, so you defend yourself. But when you think someone is nice and they turn out to be cruel or evil, that's even worse, because you had let your guard down. And we say you let your guard down. You don't keep your defenses up. You're not watchful. You kind of trust them. You trust them. So when someone is affable, when they kind, oh, what a lovely person, we put our defenses away. We take off our armor and we relax with them. We feel safe with them. With a villain, we know they're a villain. And so we prepared for the attack. So I would say what comes to mind is Julius Caesar, right? And he says, et tu, Brute, because the worst thing is not being stabbed in the back with a knife. It's when you turn around and see who's holding the knife, because very often we don't expect it to be that person. We don't expect it to be a friend. We don't expect it to be someone who's kind and offering us tea. If I see someone running at me with a knife, I know they're bad. But someone who offers me tea, my defenses are down. I hope you liked that explanation. If you did, hit the like button. Do subscribe to my channel. It is free. His greeting was characteristic. I rather thought I should see you sooner or later, Mr. Holmes, said he. You have been engaged, no doubt, by General de Merville to endeavor to try to stop my marriage with his daughter Violet. That is so, is it not? I acquiesced. I agreed. My dear man, he said, or said he, you will only ruin your own well-deserved reputation. It is not a case in which you can possibly succeed. You will have barren work, to say nothing of incurring some danger. Let me very strongly advise you to draw off at once. Now, there are a couple things that I love here. You will have barren work. So when something is barren, the land is barren, a woman is barren, they cannot give life to anything. So if the ground is barren, you cannot plant anything there. It will not grow. Failed. You will not get anything out of it. And we also use barren when it comes to a woman who cannot conceive, who cannot give birth to a child. So it's such a beautiful word in the sentence because he's saying, your work will be barren. There won't be any success. There won't be any results. And you will incur some danger. Hey, you're putting yourself in danger. So let me strongly advise you. Let me give you a strong word of advice to draw off at once. So to draw off, to leave, to just stop. To quit, basically, right? It is curious, I answered, but that was the very advice which I had intended to give you. Uh-oh. Sherlock Holmes is not afraid of this guy. I like that. I have a respect for your brains, Baron, and the little which I have seen of your personality has not lessened it. I think that you're smart. Let me put it to you as man to man. No one wants to rake up your past and make you unduly uncomfortable. It is over, and you are now in smooth waters. But if you persist in this marriage, you will raise up a swarm of powerful enemies who will never leave you alone until they have made England too hot to hold you. I don't want to talk about your past. Let's just leave it there. Right now, things are good. But if you continue with this marriage, you are going to make enemies. And they will not leave you alone. They will not stop until they have made England too hot to hold you. You will not be able to survive here. Is the game worth it? Is it really worth it? Surely you would be wiser if you left the lady alone. It would not be pleasant for you if these facts of your past were brought to her notice. The Baron has little waxed tips of hair under his nose like the short antennae of an insect. These quivered with amusement as he listened, and he finally broke into a gentle chuckle. Excuse my amusement, Mr. Holmes, said he. But it is really funny to see you trying to play a hand with no cards in it. So you're trying to play cards with me, maybe poker or something, but You don't have any cards. You have nothing. I don't think anyone could do it better. I mean, you are pretty good at what you do, but it is rather pathetic all the same. Not a color card there, Mr. Holmes. Nothing but the smallest of the small. So you think? So I know. Let me make the thing clear to you. For my own hand of cards is so strong that I can afford to show it. I'm so confident. I'm in control. So I can even tell you. I have been fortunate enough to win the entire affection of this lady. This was given to me in spite of the fact that I told her very clearly of all the unhappy incidents in my past life. Wow, that's rich, unhappy incidents. It was murder, you vile rascal. I also told her that certain wicked and designing persons, I hope you recognize yourself, would come to her and tell her these things. I already warned her that you were going to come and tell her these things. And I warned her how to treat them. I told her what her reaction should be. You have heard of post-hypnotic suggestion, Mr. Holmes? Wow, this guy's evil. Well, you will see how it works for a man of personality can use hypnoticism without any vulgar passes or tomfoolery. She's hypnotized by me. So she is ready for you, and I have no doubt would give you an appointment. Yes, she would see you. For she is quite amenable to her father's will, save only in the one little matter. So, yeah, she'd see you simply because of her father. And then we move on to, okay, one simple matter, probably the marriage, right? That's the only time she's not listening to her father. Well, Watson, there seems to be no more to say, so I took my leave with as much cold dignity as I could summon. But as I had my hand on the door handle, he stopped me. By the way, Mr. Holmes, said he, did you know Lebrun, the French agent? Yes, said I. Do you know what befell him? Do you know what happened to him? I heard that he was beaten by some Apaches in the Montmartre district and crippled for life. Quite true, Mr. Holmes. By a curious coincidence, he had been inquiring into my affairs only a week before. Don't do it, Mr. Holmes. It's not a lucky thing to do. Several have found that out. My last word to you is go your own way and let me go mine. Goodbye. Wow. He brings up this Lebrun guy who's a French agent, and then he asks Sherlock, do you know what happened to him? And Sherlock says, yeah, he was beaten up and crippled for life. So crippled, he probably can't walk, right? Crippled could be arms, legs, appendages. And then he says, well, guess what, Sherlock Holmes? Just a week before that incident when he was beaten to a pulp, when he was made into a cripple, guess what he'd been doing? He'd been asking about me. And then he issues this chilling warning. Don't do it, Mr. Holmes. It's not a lucky thing to do. It's dangerous. Several have found that out. It's happened to many people who cross me. My last word to you, my final warning, go your own way. Let me go mine. Don't interfere. So there you are, Watson. You are up to date now. The fellow seems dangerous, mighty dangerous. I disregard the blusterer, but this is a sort of man who says rather less than he means. Must you interfere? Does it really matter if he marries the girl? Considering that he undoubtedly murdered his last wife, I should say it mattered very much. Besides, the client. Well, we need not discuss that. When you have finished your coffee, you had best come home with me, for the Blith Shinwell will be there with his report. Oh, the underground guy. Okay. We found him sure enough, a huge, coarse, red-faced, scorbutic man with a pair of vivid black eyes, which were the only external sign of the very cunning mind within. It seemed, it seems that he had dived down into what was peculiarly his kingdom, and beside him on the settee, on the couch, oh wow, that is such a beautiful word, settee. I only ever hear it when I am in South Africa. Settee, it's a couch. It's such a beautiful British English word. So he's on the settee, on the couch. Was a brand which he had brought up in the shape of a slim, flame-like young woman with a pale, intense face, youthful, and yet so worn with sin and sorrow that one read the terrible years which had left their leprous mark upon her. Okay, so I needed to check the meaning of scorbutic because I honestly had never heard it before. And like I say to you guys, time and time again, I'm reading this with you for the first time. So I have no idea what vocab is going to pop up. I have no idea where the story is going. But let's keep going. So what is scorbutic? And scorbutic means relating to or affected with scurvy. Okay, so scurvy is that skin disease. But if I call, say someone is scorbutic, he's red-faced, scorbutic man. So he's got this disorder. It's like red, itching. Would it be like eczema, but worse? Not quite sure, but it's related to scurvy. Okay, and then I want to just look at leprous. Okay, and leprous means suffering from leprosy. Okay, so there's a lot of medical phrases used here to describe this man. So he doesn't seem to be a well man, but oh, sorry, was a brand which he had brought up. I'm not sure if brand is a photo. That's what it seems to be, and it's a photo of this woman who seems to have uh, suffered. Why am I looking for a word with T? It's just suffered. She seems to have suffered quite a lot in life. This is Miss Kitty Winter, said Shinwell Johnson, waving his fat hand as an introduction. What we don't know, well, there, she'll speak for herself. Put my right hand on her, Mr. Holmes, within an hour of your message. I'm easy to find, said the young woman. Hell, London gets me every time. Same address for Porky Shinwell. We old mates, Porky, you and I. But by cripes, there's another who ought to be down in lower hell than we, if there was any justice in this world. That is the man you are after, Mr. Holmes. Holmes smiled. I gather we have your good wishes, Miss Winter. So she's saying, hey, I'm a criminal just like Porky, but hey, there's one who's worse than us. He deserves to be in hell. If I can help to put him where he belongs, I'm yours to rattle, said our visitor with fierce energy. So I'm here to I'm yours to the rattle, so you can ask me anything. There was an intensity of hatred in her white set face, and her blazing eyes, such as woman seldom and man never can attain. You needn't go into my past, Mr. Holmes. That's neither here nor there. But what I am, Adelbert Gruner made me. If I could pull him down, she clutched frantically with her hands into the air. Oh, if I could only pull him into the pit where he has pushed so many. So she wants revenge, right? She wants absolute revenge. You know how the matter stands? Porky Shinwell has been telling me. He's after some other poor fool and wants to marry her this time. You want to stop it? Well, you surely know enough about this devil to prevent any decent girl in her senses wanting to be in the same parish with him. So, in the same parish, at the altar, in the church, getting married. She is not in her senses. She is madly in love. She has been told all about him. She cares nothing. Told about the murder? Yes. My lord, she must have a nerve. She puts them all down as slanders. It's just gossip. Couldn't you lay proofs before her silly eyes? Can't you give us some proof? Well, can you help us do so? Ain't I proof myself? If I stood before her and told her how he used me, would you do this? Would I? Would I not? Well, it might be worth trying, but he has told her most of his sins and had pardon from her. She forgave him, and I understand she will not reopen the question. I'll lay he didn't tell her all. I'll bet. I'm sure. I'm willing to bet he didn't tell her everything, said Miss Winter. I caught a glimpse of one or two murders besides the one that made such a fuss. He would speak of someone in his velvet way and then look at me with a steady eye and say, he died within a month. It wasn't hot air either. So this is a lovely phrase. If it's hot air, it's just all talk. So we talk about people. All they do is blow hot air. I'm going to buy a yacht. I'm going to buy a mansion. I'm going to buy a villa. They don't have the money. They don't even work hard. They don't have a plan. They just blowing hot air. It's BS, basically. Okay. So, but when this guy spoke, it wasn't hot air. He wasn't just talking nonsense. But I took little notice. You see, I loved him myself at that time. So when he said these things, I didn't really pay attention. I took little notice. I didn't pay much attention because I loved him at the time. Whatever he did went with me, same as with this poor fool. I behaved just like this girl. There was just one thing that shook me, that rattled me, that unhinged me. Yes, by cripes, if it had not been for his poisonous lying tongue that explains and soothes, I'd have left him that very night. It's a book he has, a brown leather book with a lock, and his arms in gold on the outside. So when we talk about arms, we're not talking about his physical arms, we're talking about a coat of arms. So, I mean, royalty has a coat of arms. It's like a symbol of who you are, your family. Most aristocrats have a coat of arms. So it's kind of like a brand, an insignia, a symbol, a a brand basically. So it's a coat of arms. It's the coat of arms, and it's on gold. I think he was a bit drunk that night, or he would not have shown it to me. What was it then? I tell you, Mr. Holmes, this man collects women. Ah, his brown leather book is a little black book. Got it. Okay. So and takes a pride in his collection, as some men collect moths or butterflies. It's like a hobby. He collects women. He had it all in that book. And A Little Black Book is kind of outdated in the 21st century, but in the past, men had a little black book and they had all women's numbers. And in the 21st century, that doesn't work because, I mean, we have mobile phones. There's no need for a little black book. And then you have secure little folders where you can save numbers no one's ever going to find out. Yeah. Clearly, I know too much. Moving on. I think he was a bit drunk that night. Okay, so yeah, he collects women. He had it all in that book. Snapshot photographs, names, details, everything about them. It was a beastly book, a book no man, even if he had come from the gutter, could have put together. But it was Adalbert Grunner's book, all the same. Souls I have ruined. He could have put that on the outside if he had been so minded, if he'd wanted to. However, that's neither here nor there. For the book would not serve you, and if it would, you can't get it. But this is all pointless. I mean, you can't get the book. Where is it? How can I tell you where it is now? It's more than a year since I left him. I know where he kept it then. He's a precise, tidy cat of a man in many of his ways. So maybe it is still in the pigeonhole of the old bureau in the inner study. Do you know his house? I've been in the study, said Holmes. So she knows where the book is. Have you? Though? You haven't been slow on the job if you only started this morning. Maybe dear Adalbert has met his match this time. The outer study is the one with the Chinese crockery in it. Big glass cupboard between the windows. Then behind his desk is the door that leads to the inner study, a small room where he keeps papers and things. Is he not afraid of burglars? Burglars, thieves, people who would break into your house? Albert is no coward. His worst enemy couldn't say that of him. He can look after himself. There's a burglar alarm at night. Besides, what is there for a burglar? Unless they got away with all this fancy crockery. No good, said Shinwell Johnson with the decided voice of an expert. Oh, look at these criminals. And by the way, brand, I thought it was something related to a photograph, but it clearly wasn't. It seems to have been an actual person. No fence wants stuff of that sort that you can neither melt nor sell. Okay, so if a burglar got into his house, what is there to steal? Crockery? Well, no one would want it. Now let's talk about a fence. A fence is the person that buys stolen goods. It's not a fence that you jump over. Okay. I love it when there are words that just really don't make sense. But a fence is someone who deals in stolen goods. So these burglars steal the goods and then they cannot sell it directly to anyone. So they fence it, and it's also a verb, and they sell it to a fence. And these are the people who buy stolen goods. But you know what? The fence would not want it. No person who buys stolen goods would want crockery because you can't melt it. So they like to buy gold. They like to buy jewelry, things that can be melted down. And then they also can't sell it. Okay, I mean, Chinese crockery would be very distinctive. Quite so, said Holmes. Well, now, Miss Winter, if you would call here tomorrow evening at 5, I would consider in the meanwhile whether your suggestion of seeing this lady personally may not be arranged. I am exceedingly obliged to you for your cooperation. I need not say that my clients will consider liberally. So we're very obliged, we're very grateful, and we'll pay you, basically. None of that, Mr. Holmes, cried the young woman. I am not out for money. Let me see this man in the mud, and I've got all I've worked for in the mud with my foot on his cursed face. That's my price. So she wants vengeance. She wants revenge. I'm with you tomorrow or any other day, so long as you are on his track, as long as you are investigating him, I am here to help. Porky here can tell you always where to find me. I did not see Holmes again until the following evening when we dined, when we ate, when we had dinner once more at our Strand restaurant. He shrugged his shoulders when I asked him what luck he had had in his interview. Then he told the story, which I would repeat in this way. His hard, dry statement needs some little editing to soften it into the terms of real life. So I'm going to edit it. I'm going to make it more palatable for you. I'm going to make it easier for you to swallow. I'm going to make it sound better than what he told me. Those are all lovely phrases. So there was no difficulty at all about the appointment, said Holmes. Okay, getting the appointment was easy. For the girl glories in showing abject filial obedience because this girl loves to show that she's a good daughter in all secondary things, in everything that is less important, secondary things, in an attempt to atone for her flagrant breach of it in her engagement. So this girl knows that she has behaved, I wouldn't say badly, but she has offended her father by going ahead with this engagement, right? She, I mean, she went against his wishes. Um, she kind of disrespected him. She's doing what she wants to. So, because she knows that she's hasn't behaved well, she's upset her father in this important matter. So, in all other things, in all secondary matters, she really is trying to show that she's a good daughter. So, she's kind of trying to balance it out. So, the general phone that all was ready and the fury Miss W turned up according to schedule, so that at 5:30 a cab deposited us outside 104 Berkeley Square, where the old soldier resides. So at the father's house, one of those awful grey London castles, which would make a church seem frivolous. So this is a very beautiful, very elegant abode. Oh, did I say abode? So an abode would be a dwelling. Oh, did I say dwelling? What's a dwelling? It's a house. So this is a beautiful castle that would make a church look ordinary. And so think about it. What kind of castle would make Notre Dame look ordinary? Think about it. It's got to be fabulous. A footman, wow, showed us into a great yellow curtained drawing room, and there was the lady awaiting us, demure, pale, self-contained, as inflexible and remote as a snow image on a mountain. Icy, cold, very much in control. I don't quite know how to make her clear to you, Watson. Perhaps you may meet her before we are through, and you can use your own gift of words. She is beautiful, but with the ethereal, otherworld beauty of some fanatic whose thoughts are set on high. She doesn't seem to be of this world. I have seen such faces in the pictures of the old masters of the Middle Ages. How a beast man could have laid his vile paws upon such a being, of the beyond, I cannot imagine. So a being of the beyond, she seems to come from another realm, from another world, almost fairy-like, not of this world. You may have noticed how extremes call to each other, the spiritual to the animal, the caveman to the angel. You never saw a worse case than this. Okay, so we've got this vile, evil murderer, and then we've basically got someone who looks like Tinkerbell, like this fairy-like quality, ethereal, beautiful, innocent, from another world. Okay, very interesting. She knew what we had come for, of course. That villain had lost no time in poisoning her mind against us. So he had lost no time. He told her immediately. He went and told her about us. He poisoned her mind. He told her bad things about us. Miss Winter's advent rather amazed her, I think, but she waved us into our respective chairs like a reverend abbess receiving two rather leprous mendicants. If your head is inclined to swell, my dear Watson, take a course of Miss Violet de Merville. Okay, so that was the way she behaved. She treated them. She waved us over to our chairs. But she seemed superior, and we felt or were treated like two lepers, untouchable. Well, sir, said she, in a voice like the wind from an iceberg. This is so beautiful. This icy, cold voice, no emotion. Well, sir, your name is familiar to me. You have called, as I understand, to malign my fiancé, Baron Gruner. Malign! You hear to say bad, evil, ugly things about him, but she says it like this. You have called, as I understand, to malign my fiancé, Baron Gruner. I mean, if it had been me, I would have been, you have called, as I understand, to malign my fiancé. How dare you? But I mean, she's not me, and I'm not her. It is only by my father's request that I see you at all, and I warn you in advance that anything you can say could not possibly have the slightest effect upon my mind. Okay, so this is a speech almost given in the tone of the Queen. Nothing you can say is going to change my mind. I was sorry for her, Watson. I thought of her for the moment as I would have thought of a daughter of my own. I am not often eloquent. I use my head, not my heart. But I really did plead with her with all the warmth of words that I could find in my nature. I pictured to her the awful position of the woman who only wakes to a man's character after she is his wife, a woman who has to submit, to be caressed by bloody hands and lecherous lips. I spared her nothing. The shame, the fear, the agony, the hopelessness of it all. I spared her nothing. I did not hold anything back. I told her everything. All my hot words could not bring one tinge of color, not the slightest bit of color to those ivory cheeks, or one gleam of emotion to those abstracted eyes. She almost seems to be a zombie, completely zoned out, right? I thought of what the rascal had said about a post-hypnotic influence. Yeah, she's completely hypnotized. She sees, hears, feels nothing. One could really believe that she was living above the earth. I did say fairy, in some ecstatic dream. Yet there was nothing indefinite in her replies. So, yes, she gave off this image and this impression, but you know what? She wasn't zoned out. Her replies were quite clear. I have listened to you with patience, Mr. Holmes, said she. The effect upon my mind is exactly as predicted. I am aware that Aldebert, that my fiancé, has had a stormy life in which he has incurred bitter hatreds and most unjust aspersions. I like the way she says, he's had a stormy life. My dear, he murdered people, and he has incurred bitter hatreds. Oh, people hate him. But unjust aspersions. I mean, people have made claims that are just so false, so wrong, so unjust. You are only the last of a series who have brought their slanders before me. Possibly you mean well, though I learned that you are a paid agent who would have been equally willing to act for the Baron as against him. You are no saint. You're not doing this because you care about me. You're getting paid to do this. And you know what? I know, you know, that if the Baron had paid you, you would have been working for him. But in any case, I wish you to understand once for all that I love him and that he loves me, and that the opinion of all the world is no more to me than the twitter of those birds outside the window. I don't care about what you're saying. It's as irrelevant to me as birds chirping outside my window. If his noble nature has ever for an instant fallen, it may be that I have been specifically sent, oh gosh, to raise it to its true and lofty level. Oh my gosh, this woman is insane. She's now saying that if he has slipped, if he has done something wrong, then basically it's like the universe or God or whatever she believes in has sent me to help him, to raise him out of the badness and the evil, to make him good again. I give up. I give up. I want to quit right now. This woman needs to be shaken up. Really, she needs to come down to earth, reconnect with reality. I am not clear here. She turned eyes upon my companion. Who this young lady may be? Oh, so he brought the other one with him. Okay. I was about to answer when the girl broke in like a whirlwind. If you ever saw flame and ice face to face, it was those two women. So here we've got the fiancé who is as cool as a cucumber, absolutely icy, saying that my poor fiancé, everyone hates him and they say such awful things about him, all of which are untrue. But even if he were wrong about something, then I have been sent to help him. Ugh, I have no words. I have no words. Please say something in the comments. Please do. Please help me. Say something. And then along comes, oh gosh, what was her name? The other one, the one who knew about the little brown book, black book. I'll tell you who I am, she cried, springing out of her chair, her mouth all twisted with passion. So I like this because Sherlock Holmes did not or say that who the companion was. I just assumed that it was or it had been Watson. I was wrong. He brought the other woman around. Okay. So I'll tell you who I am, she cried, springing out of her chair, her mouth all twisted with passion. I am his lost mistress. I am one of 100 that he has tempted and used and ruined and thrown into the refuse heap, garbage heap, trash heap. And he will you also. Your refuse heap is more likely to be a grave. He's going to kill you, and maybe that's the best. I tell you, you foolish woman, if you marry this man, he'll be the death of you. It may be a broken heart, or it may be a broken neck, but he'll have you one way or the other. It's not out of love for you I'm speaking. I don't care a tinker's curse whether you live or die. I really don't care. I don't care a tinker's curse. What a beautiful phrase. It's out of hate for him and to spite him and to get back on him for what he did to me. This is all about revenge. I don't care about you, honey. But it's all the same. And you needn't look at me like that, my fine lady, for you may be lower than I am before you are through with it. Get off your high horse. Get off your pedestal. You are not better than me. And by the time this is over, you're probably going to be worse than I am. So get off your high horse, get off your pedestal, get off that throne you seem to be sitting on. Don't look at me like that, because you're going down. I should prefer not to discuss such matters, said Miss de Merville coldly. Let me say once for all that I am aware of 3 passages in my fiancé's life in which he became entangled with designing women, and that I am assured of his hearty repentance for any evil that he may have done. I'm fully aware that he was involved with women like you, women who wanted something, designing women who had designs on him, who had an agenda. And he repented for any evil that he may have done. He's sorry. 3 passages, screamed my companion. You fool, you unutterable fool. You thought there were only 3 of us? Ha ha! Mr. Holmes, I beg that you will bring this interview to an end, said the icy voice. So this is so powerful because it seems to just be a voice, just a voice. There's no actual person there. That's powerful because apart from the voice, there's no emotion, there's nothing. It may just be a statue. Think about that. Just a marble statue and a voice. No emotion. I love this. This is powerful. I have obeyed my father's wish in seeing you, but I am not compelled to listen to the ravings of this person. With an oath, okay, swearing, Miss Winter darted forward, and if I had not caught her wrist, she would have clutched this maddening woman by the hair. I dragged her towards the door and was lucky to get her back into the cab without a public scene, for she was beside herself with rage. In a cold way, I felt pretty furious myself, Watson, for there was something indescribably annoying in the calm aloofness and supreme self-complacence of the woman whom we were trying to save. I mean, she was frickin' annoying. We're trying to save her, and she's just so aloof, so superior, so disconnected. So now, once again, you know exactly how we stand, and it is clear that I must plan some fresh opening move, for this gambit won't work. Okay, did you catch the metaphor here? Gambit, opening move. What game do you think is being played here? Did you say chess? Wow, you're brilliant. Yes, opening move in chess and the gambit, the queen's gambit, the way the chess pieces move across the board, the gambit. He's playing chess. Love it. Without saying this is a complicated game, he said it's a complicated game. I'll keep in touch with you, Watson, for it is more than likely that you will have your part to play, though it is just possible that the next move may lie with them rather than with us. And it did. Their blow fell, or rather his blow, rather, for never could I believe that the lady was privy to it. So privy to something, knew about something. So I don't believe that the lady knew about it. I think I could show you the very paving stone upon which I stood when my eyes fell upon the placard, and a pang of horror passed through my very soul. It was between the Grand Hotel and Charing Cross Station, where a one-legged news vendor displayed his evening papers. The date was just 2 days after the last conversation. There, black upon yellow, was the terrible news sheet. Murderous attack upon Sherlock Holmes. I think I stood stunned for some moments. Then I have a confused recollection of snatching at the paper, of the remonstrance of the man. So I shouted at him, I remonstrated with him, whom I had not paid. I didn't even pay him for the paper. And finally, of standing in the doorway of a chemist's shop while I turned up the fateful paragraph. This is how it ran. We learn with regret that Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the well-known private detective, was the victim this morning of a murderous assault which has left him in a precarious position, in a difficult position, critical position, precarious, not a good position at all. There are no exact details to hand. We don't have all the details, but the event seems to have occurred about 12 o'clock in Regent Street outside the Café Royal. The attack was made by two men armed with sticks, and Mr. Holmes was beaten about the head and body, receiving injuries which the doctors describe as most serious. He was carried to Charing Cross Hospital and afterwards insisted upon being taken to his rooms in Baker Street. The miscreants who attacked him, his attackers, appear to have been respectably dressed men who escaped from the bystanders by passing through the Café Royal and out into Glasshouse Street behind it. No doubt they belonged to that criminal fraternity which has so often had occasion to bewail the activity and ingenuity of the injured man. Wow. So let's go back. Sherlock Holmes gets this newspaper, and the headline is Murderous Attack Upon Sherlock Holmes. Of course, he was shocked. He was stunned. Imagine you seeing a newspaper headline, an article that says you had been beaten almost to death, a murderous attack, and you hadn't been. And how would you think, of it, what would you think? That it was a warning, right? And then he read the article, which gave details about the attack. Specifically, that two men beat him up. His head, his body, serious injuries. He had to go to hospital. Then he was taken to his rooms. And you know what? His attackers got away. They were so ingenious. They dressed like gentlemen so they could walk through the club. And you know what? It's clear that they belonged to the criminal gangs that Sherlock Holmes had been investigating. And usually he was such a genius. This is powerful. I need not say that my eyes had hardly glanced over the paragraph before I had sprung into a hansom and was on my way to Baker Street. So a hansom is a hansom cab. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the horse and carriage, basically. I found Sir Leslie Oakshott, the famous surgeon, in the hall and his Brahmin waiting at the curb. Hold on, hold on. It wasn't Sherlock Holmes who saw this. It was Watson. Like I said to you guys, I'm reading this for the first time and it's pretty complicated. So Watson read this article and Watson went racing over to Sherlock's home. And he saw the surgeon there, this famous surgeon in the hall, and his Brahmin waiting at the curb. I'm not sure what a Browham is. Browham. Can we check it? Brow, Brough, Browham, meaning a horse-drawn carriage. Okay, so the same as the hansom. It has a roof, four wheels, and an open driver's seat in the front. So, Browham. Okay, that's a good one. Learn something new today. And what is a synonym for Browham? It's a carriage, or a rig. Okay, very interesting. So, moving on, let's see what's happening next. No immediate danger was his report. 2 lacerated scalp wounds and some considerable bruises. Several stitches have been necessary. Morphine has been injected, and quiet is essential, but an interview of a few minutes would not be absolutely forbidden. Wow, they beat him on the head. He has scalp wounds and a lot of bruising, and several stitches have been necessary, and morphine for the pain. With this permission, I stole into the darkened room. So I crept into it. The sufferer, Holmes, was wide awake, and I heard my name in a hoarse whisper. The blind was 3/4 down, but one ray of sunlight slanted through and struck the bandaged head of the injured man, so just a little bit of light. A crimson patch had soaked through the white linen compress, so he was still bleeding through his bandages. I sat beside him and bent my head. "All right, Watson, don't look so scared," he muttered in a very weak voice. "It's not as bad as it seems." "Thank God for that. I'm a bit of a single stick expert, as you know. I took most of them on my guard. It was the second man that was too much for me." "What can I do, Holmes?" "Of course it was that damned fellow who sent them. I'll go and trash the hide off him if you give the word. If you tell me it's okay, I'm going to go and beat him up." "Good old Watson. No, we can do nothing there unless the police lay their hands on the men." But the getaway had been well prepared. "We may be sure of that. Wait a little. I have my plans. The first thing is to exaggerate my injuries. They'll come to you for news. Put it on thick, Watson. So exaggerate. Say it was worse than it actually is. Luckily, if I live the week out concussion delirium, what you like. You can't overdo it. So tell them whatever you want. I mean, make it sound really bad. Tell them I have concussion. Tell them I have delirium. Tell them that I would be lucky if I live through the week. Go ahead. You can't overdo it. No matter how much you exaggerate, it will not be enough. But Sir Leslie Oakshott, oh, he's all right. He shall see the worst side of me. I'll look after that. Anything else? Yes, tell Sherwin Johnson to get that girl out of the way. Those beauties will be after her now. Those beauties, his attackers, he's being sarcastic, okay? They know, of course, that she was with me in the case. If they dared to do me in, it is not unlikely they will neglect her. That is urgent. Do it tonight. So if they came and they attacked me, they're not going to ignore her. They're not going to, and when I say ignore, I mean they are not going to forget about her or not harm her. So many negatives, double negatives here. I don't really like it, but they're going to go after her. So it's not likely that they will neglect her. So if you neglect someone, you ignore them, you don't care about them, you pretend they're not there. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to go after her. I'll go now. Anything more? Put my pipe on the table and the tobacco slipper. Right, come in each morning and we will plan our campaign. I arranged with Johnson that evening to take Miss Winter to a quiet suburb and see that she lay low until the danger was past. So if you lay low, you're staying really quiet, you're staying out of sight. Usually after a crime, criminals lay low. Okay. So until the danger was past, was over. For 6 days, the public were under the impression that Holmes was at the door of death. The bulletins, the news bulletins, the news reports were very grave. They were very serious, and there were sinister paragraphs in the papers. My continual visits assured me that it was not so bad as that. His wiry constitution and his determined will were working wonders. He was recovering so fast. Oh, there, I just said that. He was recovering fast, and I had suspicions at times that he was really finding himself faster than he pretended even to me. There was a curious, secretive streak in the man which led to many dramatic effects, but left even his closest friend guessing as to what his exact plans might be. He pushed to an extreme the axiom that the only safe plotter was he who plotted alone. So he wasn't willing to share his plans. I was nearer to him than anyone else, and yet I was always conscious of the gap between. We were friends. I was the closest person to him, and yet I knew that there was a gap between us. We were not as close as two close friends are or should be. This is very strange. Even the person closest to him was not close to him. On the seventh day, the stitches was taken out, in spite of which there was a report of erysipelas in the evening papers. This sounds like something very serious happening to Holmes. The same evening papers had an announcement which I was bound, sick or well, to carry to my friend. It was simply that among the passengers on the Cunard boat, Ruritania, starting from Liverpool on Friday, was the Baron Adalbert Gruner, who had some important financial business to settle in the States before his impending wedding to Miss Violet de Merville, only daughter of, etc., etc. Holmes listened to the news with a cold, concentrated look upon his pale face, which told me that it hit him hard. So on Friday, Baron Gruner was leaving Liverpool and he was going to the United States before his wedding to Miss Violet. Friday, he cried, only 3 clear days. I believe the rascal wants to put himself out of danger's way, but he won't, Watson. By the Lord Harry, he won't. Now, Watson, I want you to do something for me. I am here to be used, Holmes. Well then, spend the next 24 hours in an intensive study of Chinese pottery. He gave no explanations, and I asked for none. By long experience, I had learned the wisdom of obedience. But when I had left his room, I walked down Baker Street, revolving in my head how on earth I was to carry out so strange an order. So revolving in my head with these thoughts going round and round and round in my head, revolving. Finally, I drove to the London Library in St. James Square, put the matter to my friend Lomax, the sub-librarian, and departed to my room with a goodly volume under my arm. So this big fat volume, this big fat book. It is said that the barrister crams up a case with such care that he can examine an expert witness upon the Monday, has forgotten all his forced knowledge before this Saturday. So it says here basically that a barrister, a lawyer who crams up a case, so gets ready for a case for the Monday, has forgotten everything by Saturday. And this is so true. You know, when you cram before a test, and that's what we say, you cram before a test. And what does cram mean? Well, it's when you try to memorize things and study too hard, burn the midnight oil, hit the books at the last minute, you cramming. So you have a test tomorrow and you stay up all night studying. Well, then you are cramming. You're not really learning anything. And what he says here is basically when you cram, you forget everything because it's all stored in our short-term memory and not our long-term memory. So that's good to know. So basically, Watson was cramming about Chinese ceramics. So certainly I should not like now to pose as an authority upon ceramics. So I'm not going to pretend to be an authority because everything I read, I forgot. That's basically it. Like, you know, when you're in high school and you cram for your exams, maybe history. And if you ask me anything about anything that I learned, I know nothing. I know nothing. And the reason I know nothing is because I crammed. It was in my short-term memory and it disappeared a long time ago. And yet, all that evening and all that night, with a short interval for rest, and all the next morning, I was sucking in knowledge and committing names to memory, cramming. There I learned of the hallmarks of the great artist decorators, of the mystery of cyclical dates, the marks of the Hung Wu and the beauties of Yung Lo, the writings of Tan Ying and the glories of the primitive period of the Sung and the Yuan. I was charged with all this information. When I called upon Holmes the next evening, I had all this info. He was out of bed now, though you would not have guessed it from the news reports, the published reports, the newspaper reports. And he sat with this much bandaged head resting upon his hand in the depths of his favorite armchair, maybe like this. Why, Holmes, I said, if one believed the papers, you are dying. That, he said, is the very impression which I intended to convey. And now, Watson, have you learned your lessons? At least I have tried to. Good. You could keep up an intelligent conversation on the subject? I believe I could. Then hand me that little box from the mantelpiece. He opened the lid and took out a small object most carefully wrapped in some fine Eastern silk. This he unfolded and disclosed a delicate little saucer of the most beautiful deep blue color. Ooh, I think I know what's happening here. Do you? Any predictions? Put it in the comments below. It needs careful handling, Watson. This is the real eggshell pottery of the Ming dynasty. No finer piece ever passed through Christie's, and Christie's is the auction house. A complete set of this would be worth a king's ransom. In fact, it is doubtful if there is a complete set outside the imperial palace of Peking, and we now know Peking is. Did you guess it? Put it in the comments. Did you say Beijing? Yeah, Beijing, Peking. Peking is the old name for Beijing. The sight of this would drive a real connoisseur wild. So, the Baron is a connoisseur. He loves Chinese pottery. He's going to go crazy when he sees this. He's going to love it. What am I to do with it? Holmes handed me a card upon which was printed Dr. Hill Barton, 369 Half Moon Street. That is your name for the evening, Watson. You will call upon Baron Gruner. I know something of his habits, and at 8:30 he will probably be disengaged. So he'll be free, right? He won't be engaged. If you are engaged, it means you are busy. A note will tell him in advance that you are about to call, and you will say that you are bringing him a specimen of an absolutely unique set of Ming china. You may as well be a medical man, since that is a part which you can play without duplicity. So we're making you a doctor because, you really are a doctor. But now you are a doctor of, what is it? Doctor of, I don't know, Chinese pottery? Okay. You are a collector. The set has come your way. You've gotten the set, maybe inherited it. You have heard of the Baron's interest in the subject, and you are not averse to selling it at a price. So if you are averse to something, you are against it. If you are not averse, you are not against it. You are quite happy to sell it at a price. At a price. Okay. It's not free, it's not cheap, at a price. You have your price. For example, when you talk about, criminals, assassins, maybe, they're willing to do anything at a price. What price? Well, asked Watson, you would certainly fall down badly if you did not know the value of your own wares. So, yeah, I mean, this is information you obviously have to have, must have. This saucer was got for me by Sir James and comes, I understand, from the collection of his client, you will not exaggerate if you say that it could hardly be matched in this world. I could perhaps suggest that the set should be valued by an expert. Excellent, Watson. You scintillate today. So when Oh, I love this word. Scintillating conversation and scintillating gossip. Those are the phrases that I know with scintillating, especially scintillating gossip. So what do you think? Is it boring gossip or is it, oh, wow, spill the tea, scintillating gossip? Really interesting gossip, scintillating gossip. So when he says, you scintillate today, you are, ooh, exciting today. Suggest Christie or Sotheby, your delicacy prevents your putting a price for yourself. So you're not going to give him the price. You're going to say, Christie's can do it, or Sotheby's, the auction houses. But if he won't see me, oh yes, he will see you. He has the collection mania in its most acute form. He's addicted to collecting Chinese pottery, and especially on this subject, on which he is an acknowledged authority. Sit down, Watson, and I will dictate the letter. No answer needed. You will merely say that you are coming and why. It was an admirable document, short, courteous, and stimulating to the curiosity of the connoisseur. A district messenger was duly dispatched with it, so a messenger was sent off with this letter. On the same evening, with the precious saucer in my hand and the card of Dr. Hilbarton in my pocket, I set off on my own adventure. The beautiful house and grounds indicated that Baron Gruner was, as Sir James had said, a man of considerable wealth. A long winding drive, with banks of rare shrubs on either side, opened out into a great gravel square adorned with statues. The place had been built by a South African gold king in the days of the Great Boom. Oh, guys, you know by now, whenever I see South Africa, I get really excited. In case you did not know, I am South African. I was born in South Africa. I don't live there anymore, but yeah, I am South African. So this place had been built by a South African gold king in the days of the Great Boom. And the long, low house with the turrets at the corners, though an architectural nightmare, they were quite ugly, was imposing in its size and solidity. This is really interesting. Everyone talks about the South African gold boom, the great boom. And some people even thought that in South Africa, the roads are paved with gold. They are not, but there was a great gold boom. There was a diamond boom. Um, I'm trying to, oh gosh, like I said, I crammed for history and now I've forgotten everything. But there were these great gold mines, diamond mines, and I think it was in the diamond mines, there was the Cullinan diamond, and that was given to the Queen of England because we were a colony. So we were a British colony. And yeah, there were these great gold and diamond mines in South Africa. So this house, you can imagine just how extravagant it was, right? Because it was built by a South African gold king. And oh, another fun fact, did you know that um, Elon Musk was born in South Africa? And I think his father had an emerald mine or shares in an emerald mine. Who are the other well-known South Africans? Charlize Theron, the actress, the Dior ambassador, Christian Dior. And then we also have uh, Roger Federer, whose mother was South African. I'm not sure if he ever lived in South Africa. Oh, and Trevor Noah, the comedian, another well-known South African. Yeah, seeing South Africa in any text does make me excited. A butler who would have adorned a bench of bishops, showed me in and handed me over to a plush-clad footman who ushered me into the Baron's presence. He was standing at the open front of a great case which stood between the windows and which contained part of his Chinese collection. He turned as I entered with a small brown vase in his hand. I say vase, Americans say vase. I'm British English, so it's vase, and Sherlock Holmes is a British English book. Let's go with vase. Pray sit down, doctor, said he. I was looking over my own treasures and wondering whether I could really afford to add to them. This little Tang specimen, which dates from the 7th century, would probably interest you. I am sure you never saw finer workmanship or a richer glaze. Have you the Ming saucer with you of which you spoke? I carefully unpacked it and handed it to him. He seated himself at his desk, pulled over the lamp, for it was growing dark, and set himself to examine it. As he did so, the yellow light beat upon his own features, and I was able to study them at ease. He was certainly a remarkably handsome man. His European reputation for beauty was fully deserved. In figure, he was not more than of middle size, so he wasn't super tall, but he was built upon graceful and active lines like a thoroughbred. Ooh, his face was swarthy, almost oriental, with large, dark, languorous eyes which might easily hold an irresistible fascination for women. Oh, I'm seeing Lawrence of Arabia here. Ah, what do you think he looked like? Put it in the comments below. His hair and moustache, pay attention to the pronunciation, moustache, were raven black, the latter short, pointed, and carefully waxed. His features were regular and pleasing, save only for his straight, thin-lipped mouth. If ever I saw a murderer's mouth, it was there, a cruel, hard gash in the face, compressed, inexorable, and terrible. He was ill-advised to train his moustache away from it, for it was nature's danger signal set as a warning to his victims. So it's almost as if in this absolute beauty and perfection, the universe or nature gave him that hard, cruel mouth as a warning signal to his victims. His voice was engaging and his manners perfect. In age, I should have put him a little over 30, though his record afterwards showed that he was 42. Wow. Okay, he looks good for his age. Very fine indeed, he said at last. And you say you have a set of 6 to correspond? What puzzles me is that I should not have heard of such magnificent specimens. I only know of one in England to match this, and it is certainly not likely to be in the market. Would it be indiscreet if I were to ask you, Dr. Hilbarton, how you obtained this? So then he says, look, this is a beautiful specimen, and you are claiming to have 6, a set of 6, okay? But I'm confused, I'm puzzled. How come I've never heard of it? I know of only one in the whole of England. So can I ask you how you got it? Does it really matter? I asked with as careless an air as I could muster, so I pretended to be quite unconcerned. You can see that the piece is genuine, and as to the value, I am content to take an expert's valuation. Very mysterious, said he, with a quick, suspicious flash of his dark eyes. In dealing with objects of such value, one naturally wishes to know all about the transaction. That the piece is genuine is certain. I have no doubts at all about that. But suppose I am bound to take every possibility into account, that it should prove afterwards that you had no right to sell. Okay, so it's genuine, but maybe you stole it. I would guarantee you against any claim of the sun. That, of course, would open up the question as to what your guarantee was worth. My bankers would answer that. And yet, the whole transaction strikes me as rather unusual. You can do business or not, said I with indifference. I have given you the first offer as I understood that you were a connoisseur, but I shall have no difficulty in other quarters. Who told you I was a connoisseur? I was aware that you had written a book upon the subject. Have you read the book? No. Dear me, this becomes more and more difficult for me to understand. You are a connoisseur and collector with a very valuable piece in your collection, and yet you have never troubled to consult the one book which would have told you of the real meaning and value of what you held. How do you explain that? I'm a very busy man. I am a doctor in practice. That is no answer. If a man has a hobby, he follows it up, whatever his other pursuits may be. You said in your note that you were a connoisseur. So I am. Might I ask you a few questions to test you? I am obliged to tell you, doctor, if you are indeed a doctor, that the incident becomes more and more suspicious. I would ask you, what do you know of the Emperor Shomu, and how do you associate him with the Shoso in near Nara? Dear me, does that puzzle you? Tell me a little bit about the Northern Wei dynasty and its place in the history of ceramics. I sprang from my chair in simulated anger, pretending to be angry. This is intolerable, sir, said I. I came here to do you a favor and not to be examined as if I were a schoolboy. My knowledge on these subjects may be second only to your own, but I certainly shall not answer questions which have been put in so offensive a way. He looked at me steadily. The languor had gone from his eyes. They suddenly glared. There was a gleam of teeth from between those cruel lips. What is the game? You are here as a spy. You are an emissary of Holmes, a messenger sent by Holmes. This is a trick that you are playing upon me. The fellow is dying, I hear, so he sends his tools to keep watch upon me. You've made your way in here without leave, and by God, you may find it harder to get out than to get in. This is a clear threat. He had sprung to his feet, and I stepped back, bracing myself for an attack, for the man was beside himself with rage, so furious, angry. He is, do you know the idiom for being very angry? Did you say see red? He is seeing red. And he is beside himself with rage. There's this intense rage. He may have suspected me from the first. Certainly, this cross-examination had shown him the truth, but it was clear that I could not hope to deceive him. He dived his hand into a side drawer and rummaged furiously. So when you rummage, you're digging through it. Then something struck upon my ear, for he stood listening intently. Ah, he cried, ah, and dashed into the room behind him. 2 steps took me to the open door, and my mind will ever carry a clear picture of the scene within. The window leading out to the garden was wide open. Beside it, looking like some terrible ghost, his head gin with bloody bandages, his face drawn and white, stood Sherlock Holmes. The next instant, he was through the gap, and I heard the crash of his body among the laurel bushes outside. With a howl of rage, the master of the house, the Baron, rushed after him to the open window. And then it was done in an instant, and yet I clearly saw it. An arm, a woman's arm, shot out from among the leaves. At the same instant, the Baron uttered a horrible cry, a yell which will always ring in my memory. He clapped his 2 hands to his face and rushed round the room, beating his head horribly against the walls. Then he fell upon the carpet, rolling and writhing, while scream after scream resounded through the house. "Water! For God's sake, water!" was his cry. I seized a carrot from the side table and rushed to his aid. At the same time, the butler and several footmen ran in from the hall. I remember that one of them fainted as I knelt by the injured man and turned that awful face to the light of the lamp. The vitriol was eating into it everywhere and dripping from the ears and the chin. One eye was already white and glazed. The other was red and inflamed. The features, which I had admired a few minutes before, were now like some beautiful painting over which the artist had passed a wet and foul sponge. They were blurred, discolored, inhuman, terrible. Oh, I think she threw acid in his face. In a few words, I explained exactly what had occurred so far as the vitriol attack was concerned. Some had climbed through the window, and others had rushed out onto the lawn. But it was dark, and it had begun to rain. Between his screams, the victim raged and raved against the avenger. It was that hellcat Kitty Winter, he cried. Oh, the she-devil! She shall pay for it. She shall pay. Oh God in heaven, this pain is more than I can bear. I bathed his face in oil, put cotton wadding on the raw surfaces, and administered a hypodermic of morphia. All suspicion of me had passed from his mind in the presence of this shock, and he clung to my hands as if I might have the power even yet to clear those dead fish eyes which glazed up at me. I could have wept over the ruin had I not remembered very clearly the vile life which had led up to so hideous a change. I almost felt sorry for him, and then I remembered what he was, what he'd done, the people he'd murdered. It was loathsome to feel the pawing of his burning hands, and I was relieved when his family surgeon, closely followed by his specialist, came to relieve me of my charge, came to take over, relieve me, take over, my charge, my patient. An inspector of police had also arrived, and to him I handed my real card. It would have been useless as well as foolish to do otherwise, for I was nearly as well known by sight at the Yard, Scotland Yard, as Holmes himself. The police knew me. Then I left that house of gloom and terror. Within an hour, I was at Baker Street. Holmes was seated in his familiar chair, looking very pale and exhausted. Apart from his injuries, even his iron nerves had been shocked by the events of the evening, and he listened with horror to my account of the Baron's transformation. "The wages of sin, Watson, the wages of sin," said he. "So, yeah, we pay the price for what we do. Sooner or later, it will always come. God knows, there was sin enough," he added, taking up a brown volume from the table. "Here's the book the woman talked of. If this will not break off the marriage, nothing ever would. But it will, Watson, it must. No self-respecting woman could stand it. It is his love diary or his lust diary. Call it what you will. The moment the woman told us of it, I realized what a tremendous weapon was there if we could but lay our hands on it. So when I first heard about it, I realized this was a weapon to end this. I said nothing at the time to indicate my thoughts, for this woman might have given it away. But I brooded over it, I thought about it, I ruminated over it. Then this assault upon me gave me the chance of letting the Baron think that no precautions need to be taken against me. So I lulled him into this sense of safety, feeling like he was in control, he was in charge. That was all to the good. I could have waited a little longer, but his visit to America forced my hand, forced me to act. He would never have left so compromising a document behind him. Ah, so that's why Sherlock was worried, agitated, and he needed to act fast. He thought he would take this little brown book, little black book with him. Therefore, we had to act at once. Burglary at night is impossible. He takes precautions. He has a security system. But there was a chance in the evening if I could only be sure that his attention was engaged. So if he was distracted, that's when I could act. That was where you and your blue saucer came in. But I had to be sure of the position of the book, and I knew I had only a few minutes in which to act, for my time was limited by your knowledge of Chinese pottery. Therefore, I gathered the girl up at the last moment. How could I guess what the little packet was that she carried so carefully under her cloak? Okay, so Holmes had no idea about the acid. I thought she had come altogether on my business, but it seems she had some of her own. So I thought she was just there to help me, but she had her own agenda. He guessed I came from you, so Watson says this. I feared he would. But you held him in play just long enough for me to get the book, though not long enough for an unobserved escape. Ah, Sir James, I am very glad you have come. Our courtly friend had appeared in answer to a previous summons. He listened with the deepest attention to Holmes' account, Holmes' story, Holmes' description of what had occurred. So someone's account of something, someone's view, someone's point of view, someone's story. You have done wonders, wonders, he cried when he heard the narrative. But if these injuries are as terrible as Dr. Watson describes, then surely our purpose of thwarting the marriage is sufficiently gained without the use of this horrible book. Holmes shook his head. Nope, nope. Women of the de Merville type do not act like that. She would love him the more as a disfigured martyr. No, no. It is his moral side, not his physical, which we have to destroy. That book will bring her back to earth, and I know nothing else that could. It is in his own writing. She cannot get past it. Sir James carried away both it and the precious saucer. As I was myself overdue, I went down with him into the street. A brougham was waiting for him. He sprang in, gave a hurried order to the cockaded coachman, and drove swiftly away. He flung his overcoat half out of the window to cover the armorial bearings upon the panel, but I had seen them in the glare of our fanlight nonetheless. So he was trying to cover up the coat of arms. I gasped with surprise. Then I turned back and ascended the stair to Holmes' rooms. I have found out who our client is, I cried, bursting with my great news. Why, Holmes, it is. It is a loyal friend and a chivalrous gentleman, said Holmes, holding up a restraining hand. Stop, stop, like I'm holding up a restraining hand now. Let that now and forever be enough for us. I do not know how the incriminating book was used. So this book is incriminating because it says really bad things about this guy. It shows who he was. So James may have managed it. Or it is more probable that so delicate a task was entrusted to the young lady's father. Maybe the father told her. The effect, at any rate, was all that could be desired. Yes! Mission accomplished. 3 days later appeared a paragraph in the Morning Post to say that the marriage between Baron Adalbert Gruner and Miss Violet de Merville would not take place. The same paper had the first police court hearing of the proceedings against Miss Kitty Winter on the grave charge. Remember what grave was? From the very beginning of the video. If you do, pop it in the comments below. Grave charge of vitriol throwing. Such extenuating circumstances. So there were circumstances that added or explained the situation, came out in the trial that the sentence, as will be remembered, was the lowest that was possible for such an offense. Now, when we say extenuating circumstances, so yeah, she did it. She threw this vitriol, this poison, this acid in his face. But the circumstances under which she did it, her reasons for doing it, what drove her to do it, were so profound And all of this came out, phrasal verb came out, was exposed, was told in the trial that she got a very low sentence. What are your thoughts? Should she have gotten a really strict punishment for a grave offense? Or do you think that these extenuating circumstances got her off the hook and it was the right thing in this case? Sherlock Holmes was threatened with a prosecution for burglary. Okay. But when an object is good and a client is sufficiently illustrious, so we know that this client was from the upper echelons of society. He had a coat of arms on his carriage. This was a powerful, influential man. Even the rigid British law becomes human and elastic, pliable. And so this guy had connections, basically. My friend has not yet stood in the dock. So my friend has not been charged with anything simply because of his connections. Wow, I do have to say that that was one of the best Sherlock Holmes short stories that I have read. As I said at the beginning of the video, I do read it for the first time with you guys, and that's why I get some things wrong, like when the strange word brand showed up to describe the woman. A brand, I mean, we know what brands are, it's Louis Vuitton and so on. But here, I think a brand might be kind of rude word for a woman who doesn't have great character. I Googled, I checked the meaning, and nothing came up. Nothing came up. So if you know what brand means, maybe from Old English, or maybe it's something that's used in the UK, please do join the conversation. Let me know in the comments below. And I was also mistaken when I thought that Sherlock Holmes had seen that news article about himself and perceived it as a threat. That's not what had happened. It was actually Watson who saw the news headline, newspaper article, grabbed it and went rushing off to Sherlock Holmes, who was pretending to be more beaten up than he actually was. And then he plotted to get that book. Did I make any other errors during this reading? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm not perfect. Far from it. I'm imperfectly perfect, or I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm not sure which one. But either way, if you enjoyed this video, please do take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. I see that our Sherlock Holmes stories are gaining traction and popularity, and I'm loving it. It does take an awful lot of time to record them. It's like hours and hours, and then there's still the editing. So I do hope that you enjoy them. I mean, that is the focus. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for watching 3 hours after starting this recording. We're finally done and dusted. So come on, do give me a thumbs up. Give me that like. I'm Nas, and it is ciao for now.